This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather Hurler. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. Add the birthday boy for today. December 14th is not with us anymore. He's deceased, but he is a legend for one team in particular. However, people forget about this guy actually being good with the Cubs and the Dodgers, most notably. So he was a good outfielder with the Dodgers, and then he got traded to the Cubs in '77, and the Cubs traded him to the Red Sox in the middle of the '84 season. And then, of course, he made one of the worst plays ever. Of course, if you are looking at the picture, you know who it is. If you're doing this by audio, you know that this guy is known for making one of the biggest World Series errors of all time, and that should be eradicated because, dude, the Red Sox have won, like, what, 4 titles since that boo boo? Anyway, he died at age 69, but this guy was born December 14th. His name is Bill Buckner. And I can't believe I hadn't done this guy in my 4 years of Sports Catastrophe. Regardless, he was born December 14th, 1949 in Vallejo, California. And he and his brothers Bob and Jim's twin sister Jan were raised by their parents. His father died. Bill Buckner's father died in 1966 when Bill was a teenager, and his mother was a stenographer for the California Highway Patrol. You know, Chips. Anyway, Buckner graduated from Napa High School playing on the baseball and football teams. He contemplated going for football to Stanford or USC, but he chose baseball instead. The Dodgers picked him in the second round of the 1968 draft, which was pretty good. His friend and legendary manager Bobby Valentine was the first round pick by the Dodgers. So he was assigned to minor league ball and briefly attended Arizona State. He played in the minors and all that. He would complete finals at USC. He didn't play for USC's baseball team because obviously he was a pro player. Buckner would actually earn a starting job with the Dodgers in 1971 as their opening day right fielder, and hit his first home run off Don Wilson April 6, 1971. Buckner would be a good first baseman in 1973. However, when Steve Garvey was a good first baseman option for the Dodgers and became the MVP in 1974, Buckner was shifted to left field permanently. Buckner, if people remember him for that, you know what, that boo boo. But Buckner also is remembered in 1974 for trying to catch Hank Aaron's 715th home run ball. He was in left field and climbed the fence in a vain attempt to get Aaron's baseball after he hit it off Al Downing. It didn't work out, and Aaron got number 715. He did okay for the Dodgers in the World Series against the A's, which they lost in 5. However, a critical base running gaffe. Was it a base running gaffe? I think it was a base running gaffe by Buckner cost the Dodgers completely and all that. But regardless, so he played for the Dodgers from 1971 to 1976, batting .289 with 38 home runs in 773 games. He would be traded to the Cubs alongside Ivan De Jesus for Rick Monday and Mike Garman. So yeah, Rick Monday, remember, in his time with the Cubs, was the guy who saved the flag from those stupid protesters at Dodger Stadium in 1976. So yeah, Monday went to Los Angeles, and of course, Expo fans would be pissed off by that name. Who could live? Unfortunately, though, Buckner had a staph infection in his ankle, and then he got shifted to first base where he would play the final 14 years of his career. A lot of people said that the Dodgers got the better indication because of how Rick Monday was a contributor to the 77 and 78 World Series, 3 years before, doing that to Expo fans. Buckner was actually somewhat of a star. Buckner actually went 4 for 7 for a grand slam of Tuck McGraw in one of the greatest games of all time when the Cubs lost to the Phillies 23-22. And yes, that is actually true. That was May 17th, 1979, if you must know. He had 7 RBI. And and all that. Buckner did win the NL batting title with the Cubs in 1980 with a 324 average, only striking out 18 times. He actually had the major league lead with 35 doubles in the strike interrupted 1981 season and was part of the All-Star game for the Cubs. Buckner in 1982 again hit over 300 for the fourth time as a Cub, got 201 hits, and actually set the record for most assists at first base when he made 159 assists, mostly throwing to pitchers and all that. So anyway, he had 38 doubles to lead the NL in doubles. During the 1984 season, Buckner would lose his first base time to Leon Durham. Buckner was at odds with Cubs management. So anyway, the Cubs would call his bluff. However, the Cubs would then make a massive trade with the Red Sox. So anyway, in 8 seasons with the Cubs, Buckner had a 300 average with over 230 doubles and almost 1,000 games. So anyway, Buckner was traded to Boston, and that was the big deal. Buckner to the Cubs for Dennis Eckersley and Mike Brumley. And yes, Dennis Eckersley was known as a starter back in those days, not the powerful reliever Oakland turned him to be. So yeah, so it was a massive move. The Red Sox needed a first baseman. They were in 6th place in the AL East. They actually would jump all the way to 4th, which wasn't half bad. Well, the AL East at the time was just based off one team. That was the Tigers. So anyway, who got the better of the deal? Well, the Cubs had Eckersley, but they traded him to Oakland. Who got the better of that deal? Buckner, Boston really needed a guy like Buckner. I mean, the weird thing was the Cubs actually did go to the playoffs and won the NL East, winning their first postseason berth in 39 years. And Leon Durham at first base was okay for the Cubs. Unfortunately, though, Durham made it boo-boo 2 years before Buckner. Everyone remembers Bill Buckner's error, but Leon Durham had a ball go between his legs at the worst possible time. The 6th inning of Game 5 of the NLCS in San Diego. I can't remember who was it. I feel like it was Templeton, but that's not the guy who hit the ball between Leon Durham's legs. But it went through Durham's legs, and the Padres had momentum to win Game 5 in the NLCS, win the NL pennant, and go face the Tigers in the World Series. Of course, back then the NLCS was the best of 5, and of course there's always the fan fury that the Cubs, because of their choke in '84, being up 2-0 and losing the best of 5 series, that's why the LCS got moved to a 7-game series in 1985. But I think that's false. I think they just won it for the revenue. Of course, Blue Jay fans would rue that decision because if the 85 ALCS was played under best of 7 rules, the Blue Jays would have won best of 5 rules, sorry. Blue Jays would have won 3 games to 1, got to the World Series against the Cardinals. Who knows? Maybe the Cardinals would have won the World Series. Maybe the Jays would have won the World Series. And much more than that, as I always say, Ozzie Smith's home run in Game 5 of the NLCS would have been way more legendary. It would have been a pennant-winning home run, much less a home run winning Game 5 and then Jack Clark in Game 6. But I digress. The fact of the matter is that, Boston looked pretty good. Buckner played every game in 1985, batted .299 with 16 home runs, but 110 RBIs, a career high, and 46 doubles. He was a contact hitter, if you will, and only struck out 36 times. In 1985, he had 184 assists as a first baseman. That record was broken by Albert Pujols in 2009. Buckner got his 1,000th RBI in 1986. He looked pretty good and all that. And unfortunately, he would have chronic ankle soreness. So he would become the first major league player to play Nike high-top cleats professionally to relieve pressure on his ankles. Buckner, nevertheless, had 18 home runs, which was a career high. He had more than 100 RBIs, which was impressive, and was a key member of the Red Sox that won the AL East. He actually was terrible to start the ALCS against the Angels. He was batting .111 and was 0-for-3 in Game 5, but he hit a base hit, and then all of a sudden, there was that famous it was a rally which Dave Henderson hit his famous home run and all that. Contrary to popular belief, that did not win the Red Sox the game. That actually, they were up by a run, yes, but the Angels scored in the bottom of the ninth to force extra innings, in which Henderson had a sac fly in the 11th inning. Then Buckner would go 3 for 6 in the final two games to help the Red Sox eliminate the Angels and put that franchise on bad spots. So, of course, the Red Sox and the Mets. The Red Sox won the first two games at Shea Stadium. The Mets were 108-54, and everything was shocked. So, unfortunately, though, Buckner was not playing his best. It was 3-2. Now, let's put that you-know-what out of range. Buckner was only batting 143 and was 0 for 5 in Game 6 at the plate. So that was terrible enough. But let's also remember that Bill Buckner nearly got the shit scared out of him by that parachutist, Michael Sergio, who, rarely enough, I think it was, December 15th or 16th in 1986, was given a sentence of 100 hours of community service and $500 fine for his parachute jump in Game 6 near Buckner. So regardless of that, the Red Sox scored 2 runs in the 10th, and Buckner was going to come out to play first base. John McNamara decided to have Buckner take the field. The only issue was that Buckner was ailing with his ankle up, and also the fact that in the 3 wins the Red Sox had before Game 6, Games 1, 2, and 5, McNamara decided to take Buckner out of the game and put Dave Stapleton in as a defensive replacement. A lot of people thought that Mac's mistake was just because of nostalgia and wanted Buckner to be on the field when the 10th inning and the Red Sox won. Well, the Mets got 2 quick outs, so that meant that the Red Sox were so close. And, of course, the Shea Stadium scoreboard said, "Congratulations to the Boston Red Sox World Series champions." Unfortunately, the Mets would have 3 straight singles off Calvin Schiraldi. Bob Stanley came in to try to stem the tide and threw that damn wild pitch with Mookie Wilson fouling pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. And then Mookie would hit a slow roller to Buckner at first base. Buckner knew about Mookie's speed, so he wanted to rush the play. Unfortunately, though, the ball rolled to the left side of his glove, through his legs, through the wickets, as he waved, and in shallow right field, scoring Ray Knight from second base. If Buckner had fielded the ball and somehow got the ball, if he managed to get Mookie Wilson, then the game was tied, and then it would have went to the 11th inning. If Buckner did field the ball with Wilson safe at first, the score would have been tied, and the next batter, and who knows, maybe they would have got the out for the 11th inning. Unfortunately, though, that blew it. He was basically given a lot of bad press and all that. And Bart Giamatti, who was the NL president at the time, before he became commissioner in 1989, actually, and a lifelong Red Sox fan, was upset over McNamara keeping Buckner in the game, obviously. So Boston did have the lead in Game 7, 3-0. And Buckner was 2 for 4 in the game. Unfortunately, though, the Red Sox scored 3 runs off Bruce Hurst, who was supposed to be World Series MVP, had the Red Sox kept it in 6 games. And then Calvin Schiraldi, a shell-shocked Schiraldi, if you will, in the 7th. The Mets would score twice in the 8th to win 8-5. A lot of people said that, there was a lot of shortcomings. But Buckner's error epitomized the curse of the Bambino and the Red Sox fans. People didn't realize that the curse of the Bambino was not really talked about until 1986 when the Red Sox choked that World Series away. But yeah, he was a scapegoat for a frustrated fan base. Basically, home fans would boo him. He received death threats and was heckled by a lot of his fans and all that, saying that the belief or implication that his play alone cost the Red Sox the World Series. Although, remember, Game 7 was there, and if the Red Sox didn't choke that 3-0 lead, all would have been forgiven in Beantown. The fans gave him trouble and all that. Unfortunately, the Red Sox were kind of upset and decided to throw Buckner a bone and release him. He had 42 RBIs in 75 games, which was pretty decent, but the Red Sox released him. Ironically enough, the Angels, the team that Buckner played for in '86, played in the LCS against in '86, picked him up, and Buckner had 32 more RBIs in 57 games. In 76 total games for the Angels, including part of the 1988 season, he had 3 home runs, 41 RBIs. Buckner was released by the Angels in 1988, just before a road trip that would have brought him to the East Coast and all that. But the Royals decided they needed Buckner, so at 38, he signed with the Royals shortly after his release and actually played in Fenway Park as an opposing player on July 15th, going 1-for-2 off Clemens with a walk. So in 168 games in a season and a bit with the Royals, he had 550 RBIs. I don't remember if I had the Buckner's card with the Royals. Nevertheless, he actually returned to the Red Sox as a free agent in 1990 and somehow made the roster and got a standing ovation from the crowd. Buckner would hit a home run off Kirk McCaskill at Fenway Park, which actually was the only inside the park home run of his career. He was one of the slowest runners in baseball. He was lucky at age 40 to do so with an inside the park home run, even though that it was because Claudette Washington of the Angels crashed into Fenway's 3-foot-high right field wall and went into the front row of seats. That meant that Buckner had the chance to go around the bases. Unfortunately, though, that was his one shining moment with the Red Sox in 1990. He decided to retire on June 5th and all that. Kind of was a smart move because the Red Sox did win the AL East without him. Buckner was one of the best base runners before his ankle surgeries in 75 and 76 ruined it. He twice led the National League in doubles in 81 and 83. He did pretty good. In 2,500 games as a player, 289 with 174 home runs, but 1,208 RBIs. That's still good enough for me. Buckner retired from baseball and moved his family to Idaho to invest in real estate in the Boise area. So anyway, he did a lot of things all that. Of course, fans were not too happy with that. But fortunately, he was given a chance to redeem himself, and the fans loved him for it. Unfortunately, though, it didn't come after 2004 when the Red Sox broke the curse of the Bambino. Rather, it was 2008 when Buckner was allowed to throw out the first pitch at the Red Sox home opener to celebrate the 2017. He got a massive standing ovation and all of that. And he said after the game, I really had to forgive, not the fans of Boston per se, but I would have to say in my heart, I have to forgive the media for what they put me and my family through. So, I've done that and I'm over that. So Buckner and his wife had 2 daughters and a son. Well, the son played for Texas A&M Corpus Christi as a baseball player. Buckner would unfortunately die of Lewy body dementia at age 69, May 27, 2019, surrounded by his wife and children. And all that. So anyway, Charlie Sheen actually purchased the ball that Bill Buckner had between his legs at auction in 1992 for $93,000. But then songwriter and Mets fan Seth Swirsky got the ball and all that. And Swirsky actually loaned it to the Mets to display in their Hall of Fame museum. But Swirsky would sell the ball for $418,000 in 2012. Buckner would be in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm when he and Larry David go at it and all that. Anyway, Fever Pitch would actually have his 1986 miscue referenced in a few lines and all that. And of course, Jimmy Fallon, the main protagonist, actually said that Buckner's ground ball wasn't his fault. It was Bob Stanley for throwing that bad pitch. So anyway, it doesn't matter and all that. So anyway, yeah, he was actually referenced in a Simpsons episode and inadvertently in another one. Well, the one episode he was referenced to was called in the one called Brothers Little Helper. That's the episode in which Bart is forced to take Bogason to try to curb his rowdiness and all that. And it actually works. He becomes a model student and all that. And even gives Homer a book, Chicken Soup for the Loser's Soul. And it actually influenced Bill Buckner to open up some laundromats. Of course, it's not true. Of course, that episode, Bart gets the delusions with the medication and basically thinks that someone's spying on him and basically wears tinfoil hats and all that. And said Major League Baseball spied on them. And he was right. But nevertheless, there was another Simpsons episode called Boys of Bummer, in which Bart is about to make a key play for the Little League team in the World Series in the finals, but he kept booting it. And he lost the team in the game to Capital City. And it was crazy. It was like, where were the other teammates to help Bart out? And especially Bart. He should have just let the ball roll and someone else pick it up and make the play. But Bart kept chasing the ball and kept making all those errors. That was kind of a Bill Buckner thing. Buckner, I think, was going to be in that episode, but they decided against it. Well, the Simpsons guys refused to do it. And then Bart becomes a town pariah. Even though the game was held at Capital City, the Springfield fans were just basically pelting him with garbage in the land. Chief Wiggum doesn't help matters by letting them pelt Bart with garbage. Bart tries to get somebody who made a critical error and a bug and help him out, Joe LaBoot. But then basically LaBoot outs Bart and everyone boos him. Although in Capital City, I think, why were they booing them? They would be laughing or cheering at him because, after all, their team won because of Bart's mistakes. Unfortunately, that episode saw Bart go bananas writing "I hate Bart Simpson" on everything, and Chief Wiggum telling him to jump, and he actually jumps from the water tower. The boot almost catches him, but fumbles in the end. Bart's in the hospital, and then the town decides to yell, "Bart sucks," and Marge finally snaps and tells the town what have they done in their lives to make it interesting. Other than Lenny, who wrote a couple of best-selling books. You know, she shames the town and basically said it's the meanest town in America. It's not for its real estate. So basically they try to replay the game for Bart. But anyway, Bill Buckner should not be blamed. Yes, he botched it in the 1986 World Series, but fucking John McEnroe said that he wanted Buckner out there for nostalgic reasons. He could have easily put Dave Stapleton in at first base. Buckner still would have got a World Series ring. And then all this bullshit about booing Buckner would not happen at all. Or if the Red Sox had won Game 7 of the 86 World Series, then we'd be talking a different tune. But no, they just have to make Bill Buckner trouble. There was that famous 30 for 30 on ESPN called Catching Hell about the Bartman thing, but they always referenced Buckner's mistakes and all that in the first half of it. I got rid of that documentary once the Cubs won the World Series because it's like, why bother keeping it? Yes, Buckner made a mistake, but the stupid fans made him a fucking pariah, and shame on you Red Sox fans. I'm sorry, but that's how I do it. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond Ado.